Living in abundance, asking, forgiving, and receiving. So today's message, living in abundance, is all about asking. It's the first piece. And it's very much what the song is encouraging us to do. You know, lean, ask. And this is a classic spiritual teaching that we live in an abundant universe. It is the intelligence, the supply, it's everywhere present. We're already in it. The gift has been given, and yet we are beings with free will. And so it's not we have to ask in order to deserve it, but if we want to realize it the more and fully express it, it's ours to ask. And so, I know I want more of the good of the divine because it's infinite and it's my destiny to reveal it, and I'm willing to ask. And so my first question for you is, are you willing to ask? Yes. All right, good, yes, yes, all right, wonderful. And I know that the folks that are with us on our online campus are saying yes as well. So I'm Reverend Karen Russo, and as you heard from Jeff, Reverend Karen Lewis reached out yesterday, and she modeled the message, right? She said, I need to ask, and I said, yes, happy to deliver this beautiful message. And it struck me as like, I'm kind of so I'm a member here at New Vision Center. I know most of you. I'm sort of like the surprisingly cool stepmom energy. You know? Yeah. Who does not love the surprisingly cool stepmom? Which is like, you know, you can tell me anything. If I judge you, I probably won't say anything, or I might forget it. You know, that's how it goes. So that's sort of my vibe, and it's so beautiful that our senior ministers have folks like me and folks like each and every one of you and us, that we are creating this community together. So there's something kind of beautiful in that. And so this message, this ask message, living in abundance, is part of the Spiritual Hero's Journey series. And I think we have a You Are Here. Yes, we always have one of these wonderful You Are Here charts that shows where we are. And so there we are. And I always like coming in, you know, after the death and rebirth, like, you know, all of the snake pit thing. And then here we are in this place of a deeper revelation of the divine. And so a deeper revelation of something that is infinite is really the ongoing hero's journey, spiritual hero's journey, but it's also just the call of the human condition, is we are here to reveal something that is infinite in a form that is finite, and there's always more to be revealed. And so I just love that Reverend Karen Lewis decided that a small series on living in abundance was for our readiness to go deeper into the revelation of the divine. So isn't this interesting? Asking, forgiving, and receiving. This little series here anchors us in a deeper spiritual maturity about receiving the abundance of the divine. And one of the things that she pointed out was, if we're blocked, the circulation of the giving and receiving gets stagnant. If we have unforgiveness, it's hard to be graciously receptive. If we are feeling lack or cut off, if we're not in abundance, it's hard to really be in the infinite circulation. And so that's why we're in this wonderful little series here. And I encourage everyone, choose something that you want to have more of in your spiritual experience and work it these 3 weeks. Today with asking, and then with forgiving and receiving. And if you want to, and especially for the folks, when I stream from YouTube, I like to use the chat there. If there's the thing that is your call, by all means, put it into the chat. And for me, I am really interested in personally being more of a contribution to, I would call it like divine justice and wholeness in our world. Like that to me feels like the big thing that I'm interested in. So choose something for yourself, yes? Yeah. All right, good. And then we're going to talk about asking with kind of like, why is it hard to ask? And so the first place we'll begin here is the spiritual truth that it's okay to ask. It is okay to ask. And that can be challenging for us because humanly, there's some social and relationship dynamics that happen with asking that can make us feel like I don't deserve to ask. So for example, if I ask for something humanly from a family member, from a coworker, from someone at the community, from a neighbor, from a stranger, if I ask, maybe it's because I'm weak and it makes me look like I'm either ignorant, or I'm lacking something, or I can't do it myself, or I don't have the willingness. And if I show that, it will reflect poorly on me, or somehow I'll be vulnerable, I'll be diminished, like I shouldn't ask because I don't want to be weak. So I won't request raised hands here, but just notice if any of these three things I talk about that could get in the way of asking might be yours. So that might be one, like I don't want to appear weak, so I shouldn't ask. And then there's this piece, if I ask, it's greedy. Like if I ask, it's saying I'm not grateful for what I have. I should be happy with what is, particularly when so many are suffering. Shouldn't I just be content? That asking is it's too greedy. It might diminish from someone else, so I shouldn't ask. And then the third is basically Jeff Spence's dog, like from the reading, which is, maybe someone else, I shouldn't have to ask because they should be able to read my mind. Do you know what I mean? Like if they really loved me or knew me or got me or understood me or cared about me, then they would give me what I want and need. Okay, I hear. So maybe that's just somebody else in the room besides somebody else in the room. But I think it's a little bit like, the wisdom of that dog, like, never playing the game, guess what I need now? So I want to acknowledge that asking as a human dynamic can be challenging, and that it is good to develop, good psychological self-worth and boundaries and the ability to ask clearly for what you want, that all of that is good and interesting. And yet, all of those dynamics dissolve when it comes to our relationship with asking to the divine. You see, you can't offend the infinite nature of life itself. You can't over-ask God, Mother, Father, Creator, Presence. You can't out-ask the divine. And so I would invite you to shift your idea about what it means to ask in a spiritual sense. There is no God in the sky who's too busy for what you're interested in, or is jealous that you didn't ask before, or needs you to be more clear, or needs to understand the history of your professional career before knowing what you want to do next. So there is no upward being that you have to do anything to in order to be worthy of asking. Spiritual asking is the opening up of our awareness to possibility that is everywhere present and yet must be expressed through us. So spiritual asking is more like, what is mine to do here? How shall I serve? What wants to be revealed in this situation? What is the greatest idea of God showing up here? How are we revealing the power of love through this next project or this next decision? That's what spiritual asking is. Because asking does, cognitively, intellectually, it does open us to our creativity and our possibility. And then spiritually, the trusting that the answer is already, it's paradoxical, right? It's already in the mind of God, and yet there's more to be revealed. So that really is our first point. Not only is it okay to ask from a spiritual sense, but that is our vehicle for expression. And then the second idea about asking is, what do we ask for? And Reverend Karen selected a beautiful quote from a practitioner named Dr. Vatura Papke. So we'll see what she says. She says, ask for more. Wealth, wisdom, love, all good. Never limit the capacity of the infinite to express its nature. And this is a practitioner. She's made her transition, but she was very active here in the Arizona area. And I love this quote. What do you ask for? You ask for more. Wealth, wisdom, love, all good. Never limit the capacity of the divine. So what do you want is the second piece of asking. And there's a couple of ways to get at, like, what do I really want in this situation, or in this prayer request, or in this challenge that I'm having? And one of the simplest but most powerful ways to get at what is really wanted is to look at where it's painful. So you say, I'm experiencing upset and pain around what is happening in our world, and I feel angry and confused, and I want it to be different. So maybe I say that. So maybe that's, if I start there, then the thing that I'm asking for is the spiritual quality that is the opposite of the pain. And this is good for us. It's like in practitioner training, when you're writing out your prayer treatments, you start with, like, what is the problem? What is the purpose of this treatment? And the purpose is to claim a greater experience of the thing that is the spiritual solution. So for that, if that's the pain, then divine justice is the solution. If someone has an experience of financial fear and lack, and it's causing worry and separation, then the prayer, or the thing I ask for, is, let me experience a sense of security and peace now. Let me know the abundance of the divine in my financial experience. And here's where it gets, I was going to say tricky, but I don't think that's the right word. Here's where it gets interesting. Yeah. And that is to be able to ask for a spiritual quality in the midst of conditions, and then both hold that those conditions can change, will change, are changing, are not the complete truth, and at the same time being detached from the time and space of how conditions unfold. And I know this from a lot of the work I do is around the spiritual experience of money, is that, you think people want, that there's a certain number out there, that if you had that number, then you'd feel secure. But many of you know this. It's like no number can give you the security that truly is a sense of spiritual security. And there's a beautiful quote, we'll never be financially secure until we're spiritually secure. So we have to watch where, if the prayer is for divine, beautiful companionship and a sense of love, praying to know that that love is not absent, no matter if we are partnered or not in this moment, that we pray for the love, because the love is what is real and that what we long to experience. and that it is not withheld from us. And then, the lovers and the partners come and go, or maybe they come and stay for some extended period of time, or whatever your journey is. But we don't say, if I don't get this partner or this job or this outcome or this candidate or this sports team, I can't have the love, the wholeness, the grace, the truth, the peace, and the freedom. So that's and then, so we want to know, like, what do we want spiritually? What's the quality? And then this is the interesting part, is it is important to then image ourselves and feel, and Reverend Karen really wanted us to know this, that it's important for us to use our vision and our imagination and our feeling to also see that truth revealed, played out, walked out into our lives. And so, if you're praying for a certain professional accomplishment, you want to say, what does that mean? What does it symbolize? What is it? And it's like, oh, it's freedom. It's my freedom and creativity. That's what it is. And you still might imagine yourself, leading that virtual meeting, making the recommendations that change the world in the way that you want. You still might have the image and the feeling of exactly how you'll do the contribution, but at the same time, we're not as attached to the details. And so the final piece on this is I was thinking about, I had a prayer partner once. We were kind of right out of practitioner training together, and we were working with ideas like, how do we be specific in our prayers without outlining? And that's something that you'll hear in the Science of Mind. We want to be specific without outlining. And my friend said, she was recently married, they were on a journey of fertility, and she said, I want you to pray for me to get pregnant. And I had a little moment like, is this a test? Like, oh no, okay. I really, and it was a little baffling to me. Like, am I praying, like how detailed am I going to get in this? So it was a little bit of that, like, okay, there were different things that they were, all these different, and you all are taking it into a way different spot, but pray for me to get pregnant. But I started to go, what I did is I went to the love and fertility of the divine creativity, mother, father, creator energies, absolutely present in my beloved friend. That her destiny of family life and expression has no hindrances and blockages. In the matter of her pregnancy, there is only good and only right action and only wholeness. And in her body temple, no thing is diminished. Like I had, and this is an interesting thing, because you don't want to, if someone comes to you and says, I've had a diagnosis, will you pray for me? You don't go just talk about beauty and ignore the fact. And so, like, what I was taught is you say, in the midst of this diagnosis, beloved here is whole, and every cell of being, there is no diagnosis greater than the power of God. Like, do you kind of hear how it's like you talk about the thing, but you know the spiritual truth in it? And so I grappled with that one, and I encourage you, you can't pray wrong, you can't want wrongly. So whatever it is that's up for you in terms of the thing I am asking for, play with that feeling of the deep desire. If it comes from within you, it means it comes from some part of the divine. What is it spiritually that you want? And don't be afraid of the specifics, and also be a bit surrendered in your life. And I know you all will want to know this, but my beloved friend now has a middle schooler, young child. Marriage didn't work out the way that she had thought. It's like it didn't turn out the way it would have been outlined, but it was also love and wholeness absolutely revealed. And good, a story for you all and your tricky minds. That's good. And so the final idea about asking is wondering that if I ask for the abundance to be revealed, will somehow there be if it's a win for me, does someone else have to lose? Like, is there enough? You would be surprised how sometimes we can be in a spiritual community like this and be well educated in principles that, the supply is sufficient and God is all there is. But sometimes we can have a little bit of a lingering idea that if I win, someone else will lose. Or if I pray for my sports team, what does that mean about the other guys or gals? Could there be winners and losers? Or is there some way that what I am wanting, do I have to check out how it would affect others? And there's a beautiful quote here from Dr. Ernest Holmes about this very thing. So Dr. Holmes says, the lesson is simple enough. When we ask for anything, we are to believe that we have it, but we are to ask for that which is in unity with life. This unity includes health, happiness, and success. These are native to the atmosphere of God and to the atmosphere of the inner man, the inner being, which is the Christ. We are to ask for that which is in the unity with life. And so, the way I've sometimes heard this translated is, in this conflict with landlord, or in this political or sports or family, in this thing, I pray for the highest and best for all concerned. And I will tell you, if you take that into meditation, what could be the highest and best for all concerned? And for those of you that are investors, or you're in real estate, or it's like sometimes it's this thing that you like, it doesn't make sense, but somebody sells a property 5% below the market, but it's really good for them because of the way their life is at. It can be good for the seller and good for the buyer. Like, that's a practical example of that, but there's a more mystical which says even the challenging and difficult things, there's a highest and best for all concerned. And especially if that is the thing I am asking for, then I can enjoy the fullness of God. I want to bring this back to this idea of abundance. If you desire to be more creative, creativity is infinite. If you're desiring to express love, love is unbounded. If you're desiring to anchor in wholeness, there's no limit on that. And so your prayer in unity with all of life, that is the spark of the divine, sometimes called the Christ, that is within each of us. Your desire, when it comes from that place of let me show more of God, of Spirit, of the divine through me, it is naturally a blessing to all because we are all connected. Okay. And so, are you feeling more warmed up about asking? Good. We're going to take this into our prayer, our spiritual mind treatment. And what we'll do today is I will begin the prayer with recognition and unification. And then what I will say out loud is I will say, the space is open for us to ask. And at that moment, you can quietly, within yourself, say, I ask for God's creativity in my workplace, or I ask for more financial flow to be shared with my family, whatever your ask is. You also are free to say it out loud here. That would be fine. And for the folks who are on the live stream, put it into the chat, when that moment comes. And so when we get there, you'll hear Frank noodling underneath the prayer, and we'll have just a few moments of space for the asking. Yes? All right. So let us take this into our spiritual practice together. We take a deep breath. Let us relax the body. And I invite the practitioners and ministers of religious science, if you are comfortable and you can, please rise and stand with me. And that is for those in our online community and for those that are here present. For all of us, let us stand up in our awareness and our consciousness. And we begin with the recognition that we already live in an abundant universe, that the good of God, the love of God, the wholeness of God, the supply of God, the divine is already giving, revealing, expressing, and that the sufficiency and the intelligence, the power, the organizing information, the creativity, the love, the freedom, the wholeness, the peace, the truth, the beauty, it is already given. And we are one with it. Our nature is God nature. Our nature is spiritual. Everything that we are is an expression of the good idea of God. Indeed, we are the divine ideas in the mind and heart of God. And from that platform of awareness, it is open for us to claim, to realize, to ask, to deepen in our experience of living in abundance. I'll begin with a few asks, and then we'll leave some open space. I ask that everyone who has submitted a prayer request, whether it is a quiet thought upon their heart or put into the New Vision Center Ministry of Prayer, that those prayers are answered with yes, that the moment that the spiritual desire was alive, that was the healing revelation of good begun. I ask that for everyone who desires more freedom and peace and love in the world, that they become beacons of freedom, peace, and love. I ask that for all who desire more wholeness and grace in their bodies and bodies of affairs, that wholeness is quickened right now. I ask that the beloveds who now speak aloud or in their hearts, that their prayers, their asks are answered with yes. So the space is open. And we can feel it, that sweet chamber of asking, that beautiful ripple of the willingness to claim what has already been given. We knock, the door opens, we ask, it is given, we seek, and we find. And so I give thanks. I give thanks that every ask is answered with a divine yes, my beloved, that each of us is revealing now the qualities of God that are ours to reveal in this moment. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that the law is always saying yes to us. And I place this prayer upon the altar of the divine, releasing this word, trusting the law, letting it go. So it is spoken, it is done, and together we say, and so it is.